In this video, I will use the Great Sabrecat from Dragon Quest Monsters as a Pokémon in Emerald. The Great Sabrecat is the boss of the Fondness Gate in Terry's Wonderland and its 3DS remake. He has excellent attack and agility, and his wisdom gets surprisingly high at higher levels, but his MP and defense are below average. As a Pokémon, he will have 85 base HP, 128 attack, 64 defense, 101 special attack, 52 special defense, and 107 speed, for a total of 537. This is similar to most Final Form starters, especially glass cannons like Infernape and Inteleon. Since the DQM games use lookup tables instead of a formula to calculate stat growth, the rate of which can vary greatly at different levels, the conversion won't be exactly faithful. Also, bigger index numbers don't always mean higher stats. His level-up moves are based on his default speedster skill set in the 3DS remake, plus a few other moves for flavor and coverage. There's a gimmick in DQM known as Shippu Zero that abuses Mercurial Thrust and Showstopper, or Round Zero, for free damage. They work like Fake Out in Pokémon, which just happens to be called Cat's Deceit in Japanese. Round Zero ends the turn and is useless alone, so I just made a gimmicky new move and called it Ground Zero. It's a decreased priority move that boosts all stats, and a complete twist on his entire theme, but it will be his only boosting move. As unbelievable as it might sound, Hone Claws cannot be copied to this gen using the GUI ROM editor. All basic solo run rules apply. I'm not using Hidden Power due to its luck-based nature in this generation, where you have no legitimate control over IVs. I will set up a Great Sabrecat with perfect IVs and pre-applied EVs. He will have a neutral nature, because I can edit the base stats directly to make adjustments if necessary. The Beast family is basically the ground type in Pokémon. His early bird trait in DQM gives him turn priority in exchange for decreased ailment resistances, but that won't work in Pokémon. So, he will have a custom ability that boosts all moves with increased priority by 50%. It's just a technician that only works for priority moves, but it works for extreme speed too. Boosted moves are in caps. EV-wise, the only sensible spread is 252 in both attacks, since he's fast enough as is, and defensive investments simply aren't worth it on a glass cannon. I put him in the same experience group as all of the starters, seeing as their stats are so similar, and it could end up helping him greatly because this group levels up rapidly early on. I was already level 18 after clearing all the trainers before Roxanne, and I needed those levels since I had nothing good against rock types. Note that the feint I used here is the Gen 5 version with 30 base power, not the Gen 4 version which only works when the target uses Protect or Detect. Luckily, Swift hits the abysmal special defense of Roxanne's Geodude, so they were easy two-shots even when it was resisted. The AI also likes to spam Rock Tomb when you're faster, regardless of your resistances, since it's treated as a speed debuff. Her Nosepass has much higher defenses, but it can't do damage thanks to its absolutely awful attack stats. Here's an additional rival battle in Emerald. I replaced Torchic this time, just to see what team he gets, but it seems like he always gets a Slugma unless he starts with Torchic himself, and playing as the girl doesn't affect his lineup. There's nowhere to grind on the island, but they added a few extra trainers in the fighting gym for you to gain more experience. I'm not a flying type, and Gust doesn't get boosted by my speedster ability, but it does special damage. I had a good level lead, and Brawly's fighting types all have low special defense, so I easily one-shot everything. I thought about making the bulk up TM compatible, but I decided against it since the Great Sabrecat is an agility-themed monster that does not depend on brute strength. And again, Hone Claws can't be made in this gen without editing the game engine. Vacuum Wave is the special version of Mach Punch, and it doesn't make contact. It's very fitting on the Great Sabrecat as he uses many wind-based skills, and Gust Slash was originally called Vacuum Cut. Its power also gets boosted to 60 by my ability, making it quite strong even without stab. The rival always gets Pelipper as the water type, Ludicolo as the grass type, Slugma as the fire type, and Atropius at the end, so it's best to just give him Torchic to replace the awful Slugma. It doesn't even evolve at the end since it actually evolves at level 38 for some stupid reason, and Magcargo is arguably even worse due to its dreadful typing. I'm a ground type that's immune to electric, so Watson was pretty much a free win. His team also got a slight nerf in Emerald as well, since his Magneton was weakened by 2 levels, and its top spot was taken by a new Manectric. The Steel-type Magneton is clearly harder to deal with in the early game if you didn't start with Torchic. Worth noting is that even as a ground type, you can still get paralyzed by static on contact in this generation. I believe this was changed later, to make both ground and electric types immune to static. I made the Shockwave TM compatible because shockwaves travel the fastest along the ground. It sounds like a ground type move, but its original name actually translates to electric shock or electrocution wave. Just like Aerial Ace, its ambiguous English name is largely due to the limited character space. I gave the Great Sabrecat Gale Slash, which is a stronger version of the Gust Slash he uses as the boss. Gust Slash would be redundant, as he already started with Gust and learned Vacuum Wave. Like all the other Slash moves, I just made it 70 power with high critical rate. You have to fight both Team Aqua and Team Magma in Emerald, but their leaders' lineups didn't change from Ruby and Sapphire. The first Maxi battle is pretty much a cakewalk, since his team is so underleveled, especially in Emerald where you have more trainers to fight along the way. His Pokémon have the same moves as wild ones at the same level, which means his Camerupt doesn't know eruption, even though we're fighting atop a literal volcano. Out of all the gym leaders, Flannery has probably received the biggest buff in Emerald. One of her Slugma has been replaced by a Camerupt that knows both Sunny Day and Overheat, and her Torkoal now holds a white herb to reset the special attack drop. This fight is usually horrible in a solo run due to the raw firepower on her team, and how difficult it is to one-shot her Torkoal, but this time I have access to Stab Dig. You get the TM before Meteor falls, and although it's only 60 power in this gen, I have a massive level advantage and great attack. The Rost Berry was probably unnecessary, since her Slugma always has the Magma Armor ability, and Overheat can't burn. Besides, Vacuum Wave and Dig easily one-shot everything on her team. Norman should be a free win as well. One of his Slacking has been replaced by Spinda and Linoon, which are both terrible Pokémon, but Slacking itself is also a free KO for anything with Protect or a 2-turn move. I equipped a Chesto Berry just in case, as his Slacking knows Yawn, but I have Dig to avoid all of its active turns. Vacuum Wave one-shot his Spinda, Linoon and Vigoroth, which all have awful special defense. Special defense is Slacking's lowest stat as well, but it does have 150 base HP, so I doubt it would one-shot without a critical. By the way, it knows counter in Emerald, so it's best to use special moves against it, or 2-turn moves like Dig. The rival battle here is a total joke. His team is ridiculously underleveled, and he still only has 3 Pokémon, none of them have fully evolved. I bet his team would even struggle against the wild Pokémon in this area. In fact, you can find higher-level Tentacool and Pelipper in the water around here. Winona's Flying Gym now has a Swablu that knows Perish Song, which means instant GG in a solo run since she has 5 Pokémon. But fortunately, it's very fragile and underleveled, so it won't be a threat most of the time. It could be much more dangerous if she led with the Skarmory and opened with Sand Attack, but these games weren't designed around solo runs in the first place. Anyway, I was able to easily one-shot everything on her team with Shockwave and Gale Slash, except the Altaria, which was highly defensive but couldn't do much damage. All of these gym leaders and boss trainers have some EVs on their Pokémon according to the ROM editor, but I have no idea how they are distributed, or if they have perfect IVs. Slowing Slug is based on Luster Purge and Mist Ball, but I made it ground type for Stab and gave it a 50% chance to lower speed instead. Here's the last rival battle in Emerald as well, and he still doesn't even have a fully evolved starter. I guess they didn't really intend for him to be a rival, but rather a supportive character. Still, they should have given him a full team and a final form starter for the last battle, if only for the Dex entry. I don't know why they gave him a Slugma in Emerald when he had a Numel in Ruby and Sapphire, since Slugma isn't even a Gen 3 Pokémon. I will just give him Torchic from now on, so he would at least have 3 final form Pokémon. You have to fight Team Magma inside the volcano in Emerald. It's a new area, but Maxi's team is exactly the same as what he had in Ruby, only at lower levels. The only potential threat on his team is the Crobat that knows Confuse Ray, but I should outspeed it even without any speed EV, considering I was almost 20 levels higher. His Camerupt still doesn't have Eruption, but it's not like it could ever get the chance to use it on full HP with its abysmal speed stat. The Psychic Gym received an additional Hatu and Claydol, and it's almost specifically set up to counter my moveset. All of their Pokémon are immune to ground, and the rock types resist flying. I equipped a Chesto Berry as their Lunatone knows Hypnosis, and I used a flying type as team filler just so their Claydol wouldn't open with Earthquake. Sky Splitter is a slash skill in DQM that does whoosh and bang damage to all enemies. I just modified Aeroblast by giving it 10 more power, 10% less accuracy, and AoE. Note that all AoE moves in this gen have their power lowered when targeting 2 opponents, regardless how many are actually hit. The only exceptions are Earthquake and Magnitude, and the friendly fire is part of their effect. The Hatu doesn't have a lot of HP, and my Shockwave was able to one-shot it, but I had nothing good against any of their other Pokémon. Especially the Solrock, which has good defense and no Solar Beam. Sky Splitter couldn't even do half to the Claydol due to the power penalty, and my poor defenses meant I wasn't able to tank enough hits. I tried again with the Citrus Berry, just to see if it could allow me to take one more hit, but they sent out the Lunatone this time and put me to sleep. Citrus Berry only heals 30 HP in this gen instead of 25% of total, and Sky Splitter hardly did half to the Lunatone even with a crit, so this was clearly not going to work. I gave it another try, hoping for better luck, but Sky Splitter just kept missing. I didn't want to grind levels or use my rare candies so early, so I bought a TM for Thunder to see if that would help. Weirdly, all feline-based Pokémon in these games can learn Thunder via TM. I didn't replace Shockwave since I didn't want to do the 70% accuracy check more than necessary. The Solrock was a one-shot with Thunder, which gave me a chance, but the Lunatone wasn't. Due to Hypnosis and Thunder missing, it took me about 6 tries before I finally got lucky and landed a crit on the Claydol. It wasn't a convincing win, but considering my alternative was to use Double Team and rest, I'd gladly take it. Despite having 2 gym leaders, the Psychic Gym wasn't actually a multi-battle. However, straight after it is a mandatory multi-battle with Steven as your partner. This is usually a luck-based fight in a solo run, because the enemies love to spam confusion and debuffs, and the friendly AI is horrible. The same AI is used in the Battle Tower's multi-battle mode as well, making it the hardest challenge in the Battle Frontier, as your partner is often a liability. While the Battle Palace is mostly luck-based, you can tweak natures and move sets to shift the odds in your favor, but you have zero control over what your AI partner does. Anyway, I got pretty lucky in this fight, since Steven's Metang took most of the damage. The Archie fight afterwards is exactly the same as in Sapphire, although his team might have received some extra EVs. He and Maxi, as well as most of the gym leaders, have the number 150 under EVs, while other bosses like the Elite Four and Steven can have up to 255. The ROM editor doesn't show how they are distributed, nor does it give you options to manually distribute them. Again, I was almost 20 levels higher, and I had enough natural speed plus the badge bonus to outrun his Crobat even if it had maxed speed EV. I also relearned Vacuum Wave for its coverage, so nothing else on his team could pose any threat. Juan was a piece of cake compared to the Psychic Gym, even though I'm a ground type with a water weakness. Shockwave and Vacuum Wave took care of most of his team. The only Pokémon that could survive and be a problem was his Kingdra, but it just decided to spam Double Team and rest when I had Shockwave that bypasses accuracy checks. The Water Pulse TM he hands out is already obsolete by this point, since you'd need Surf to even reach him, and Confusion isn't a reliable ailment. The Mega Launcher ability didn't exist in this generation either. Seeing as the Shippuzero gimmick in DQM is just fake out in Pokémon, and Round Zero is useless on its own, I gave it a twist and made a new gimmick move. It's based on Silver Wind and Ancient Power, but like all Earth spells in DQM2 Remake and Joker 3, it goes last. Earth spells also bypass skills like Selflessness and Counter Spell, so I made it unprotectable against. Wally challenges you at the entrance of Victory Road in Emerald, instead of the exit. I suppose they made this change just so you wouldn't be all scuffed up and out of PP by the time he shows up. He's normally very easy, as his team is even more underleveled than Juan's, but missing a Sky Splitter, and then getting paralyzed by his Alteria's Dragon Breath, did me in this time. I think the stun rate from paralysis is 50% in this gen, but I'm not certain. My second try went much better, and all I had to do was not miss and get paralyzed. Here's Ground Zero in action. It boosts all stats by 1 stage, but with decreased priority, it comes with the risk of taking an ailment or a debuff from the opponent before it activates. Here are my stats and moves going into the Pokémon League. I have great attack stats and speed, but my HP is only average, and my defenses are quite awful. My coverage is also lacking, and I have no means of recovery, but if I can get 1 Ground Zero boost in without eating an ailment, I should be able to overpower everything using neutral moves. This is also where my starter experience group proves to be a big advantage. I'm already level 70, whereas I'd only be in the low 60s if I were in the 1.25 or 1.64 million group. Sydney was a free win, since all of his Pokémon had terrible special defense, and I had boosted Vacuum Wave. I think all of his Pokémon only have 60 or less in special defense. Speaking of which, a lot of Pokémon introduced in this gen were given 60 in both defenses, and Sydney has 3 of them, Shiftry, Cacturne and Absol. Phoebe could be a problem in solo runs if you can't reliably one-shot her leading Dusclops, which knows Curse. Fortunately, it usually opens with Protect to waste your PP using its pressure ability, and that would give me a chance to get a boost from Ground Zero. Slowing Slug has 105 base power due to stab, and it should easily one-shot everything on her team after an attack boost. Glacia has clearly the worst team among the Elite Four, due to the dearth of ice types introduced in Gen 3. Besides the Spheal and Snorunt families, the only other new ice type is the legendary Regice, and they didn't bring back any of the old ones like Cloyster, Lapras, and Piloswine. Despite my typing disadvantage, all I needed to win was getting a boost in, and Vacuum Wave would take care of the rest. Her leading Celio doesn't have nearly enough special attack to one-shot me outside of a critical blizzard. I guess I could get frozen, since I forgot to equip an Spear Berry, but that's only a 7% chance when accounting for Blizzard's accuracy. Although I have nothing good against Drake's flying dragons, he shouldn't be hard, simply because he leads with a Shelgon that likes to use Protect and Rock Tomb. It will just be a setup fodder, since Ground Zero goes through Protect, and I don't care about the speed drop as I have enough natural speed. I equipped a Cherry Berry, considering the most likely way I could lose was missing Sky Splitter and getting paralyzed by Dragon Breath. As expected, his Shelgon opened with Protect, which gave me a free boost. He then healed it, giving me another free boost. Earth spells in DQM2 and Joker 3 don't exactly have decreased priority like Anchor Knuckle, but they activate at the beginning of the next turn, and multiple instances cannot be stacked. They are not 2-turn skills either, as you can still move after they activate. They are more like Accelerated Future Sight and Doomed Desire in Pokémon. Wallace is arguably the worst champion across all generations, since his entire team is Water type, which isn't known for good coverage, but this time, I'm weak to water. I equipped a Citrus Berry just to have some form of recovery, even though it only heals 30 HP in this gen, and I brought another Thunder TM. I can't set up on his leading Wailord with a negative priority move because it has Water Spout, which depending on its EV distribution, could one-shot me on full HP. Thunder only has 70% accuracy outside of rain, so I decided to chip down its HP first and lower Water Spout's power. It could even set up Rain Dance for me, or Wallace might heal it and give me a chance to use Ground Zero. But unfortunately, Slowing Slug landed a crit and took it out in one hit. He sent out Tentacruel next, so I had to take the risk of eating a Toxic and set up on it. It only used a Hydro Pump that wasn't nearly enough to one-shot me, although I could survive 5 turns of Toxic as well, since my HP wasn't divisible by 16, and I had a Citrus Berry. Whiscash can't learn Hydro Pump in this gen, and it doesn't have good attack stats, so I decided to set up again, just in case I miss a move on his Ludicolo or Gyarados. After that, it was just a series of easy one-shots. Come to think of it, I could have just eaten a rare candy and learned extreme speed to mitigate most unnecessary risks, since it got boosted to 120 power by Speedster. But I still won either way, so whatever, and I'll still need to use it against Steven afterwards. The real final boss in Emerald is Steven, and he could cause a lot of issues for solo runs if you don't have reliable ways to deal with those unusual type combinations on his team. All combinations on his team are unique to a single Pokémon or family as of Gen 3, besides the mythical Jirachi which shares the Steel and Psychic typing with Metagross. I wasn't sure if Thunder could one-shot his Skarmory, as it would definitely depend on its EV distribution, so I equipped a Pecha Berry just to be safe. But it turned out to be a one-shot, so it definitely doesn't have both HP and special defense maxed out. I don't know why he sent out Aggron next instead of Cradily or Claydol, and since it decided to use Solar Beam, it just gave me a free setup. Cradily has Confuse Ray, but my grass weakness actually works out in my favor here, as it would just attack and allow me another turn to set up. However, his Armaldo wasn't a one-shot with Slowing Slug even at +2 stages, so it most likely has maxed HP or defense. But it couldn't do much damage, and his Claydol and Metagross were no threat. The physical and special split patch for Emerald doesn't work for Fire Red or Leaf Green, but I have found a few patches that might work. I will test them when I have the time, and do a fire red run if I can get one to work properly. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.